Okay, today we're looking at lesson 7-8, day 2, multiplying binomials. At the top of your paper, you need to write notes 7-8, day 2. Yesterday we looked at this with algebra tiles, and today we're going to look at it algebraically, so you'll have 7 examples today of algebraically multiplying binomials. This is an example of when this might come in handy. If they gave you the length of a rectangle, and you'll see questions a lot like this on your EOC. It says the length of a rectangle is 5y plus 4, and the width is y minus 3. Find the area of the rectangle, and you know that area equals length times width. So you have your length and your width, and now you have to multiply them by each other. So let's look at how to write out this problem. On your notebook paper, I need you to write open parentheses 5y plus 4, close parentheses, open parentheses, y minus 3, close parentheses. This is going to be example number 1. You don't have to draw the rectangle. Okay, so we're going to look at this example on paper. Alright, I've copied this example over to my paper, and now I'm going to work it out just like we did yesterday. The first thing I want you to do is draw your arrows. Then I also want you to add the opposite. So instead of saying minus 3, say plus a negative 3. Now the first thing I'm going to do is multiply my 5y times each of the terms in the second parentheses, and I've shown that by drawing my arrows. So I'm going to say 5y times y plus 5y times negative 3 plus 4 times y plus 4 times negative 3. Because I had 4 times y and 4 times negative 3. So now I'm going to work each of these out. 5y times y gives me 5y squared plus 5y times negative 3 gives me a negative 15y plus 4 times y gives me 4y, and 4 times negative 3 gives me a negative 12. So now I'm going to look and see where my like terms are. My y's here, I have a negative 15y and a positive 4y. I'm going to add those, and when I add negative 15 and positive 4, it's going to give me negative 11y. I'm going to bring down my 5y squared. I'm going to bring down my negative 12. And this is going to be my final answer. It's 5y squared minus 11y minus 12. So going back to the original question that was posed, that rectangle that I had with a length of 5y plus 4 and a width of y minus 3, that is the area of that rectangle right here. You don't have to write this part down, but I just wanted you to take it back and reference where we got this problem. Make sure you have that done before you move on. We're going to look at example number 2. It's 7g minus 5 times 7g plus 5. So get down this problem, 7g minus 5 times 7g plus 5. First thing we're going to do is add our opposite and draw our arrows. So instead of it being 7g minus 5, it becomes 7g plus a negative 5. Now I'm going to multiply my 7g times 7g, my 7g times 5, my negative 5 times 7g, and negative 5 times 5. And I'm going to rewrite these out. 7g times 7g plus 7g times 5 plus negative 5 times 7g and negative 5 times 5. 7g times 7g is going to give me 49g squared. 7g times 5 is going to give me 35g. Negative 5 times 7g is going to give me negative 35g. And negative 5 times 5 is going to give me negative 25. So just like when I had 0 pairs, I can look here and see I have a positive 35g and a negative 35g. These are actually going to cancel and equal 0. I'm not going to write 0g because anything times 0 is 0. So I'm just going to go ahead, mark those out. I know that they eliminate each other, and I'm going to bring down my 49g squared and my negative 25. And that's going to be your final answer. Make sure that you get that down before you move forward. Okay, go ahead and get number 3 down on your paper. Shoot. All right, so number 3 is 6m plus 1 times 6m plus 1. The first thing I want you to do is go ahead and draw your arrows. We don't have to add the opposite here because everything in my problem is already positive. So this one's going to be pretty easy. I'm going to multiply my 6m times 6m. I'm going to write that by saying 6m times 6m. Then I multiply my 6m times 1. So I'm going to say 6m times 1. And then I have plus 1 times 6m plus 1 times 1. So again, I'm just going to work it out step by step. 6m times 6m is going to give me 36m squared. 6m times 1 is simply 6m, and because it's positive, I'm going to put a plus sign there. 1 times 6m is going to give me 6m again, and again, because it's positive, I'm going to put a I'm going to put a plus sign there. And 1 times 1 is going to give me 1. So now I'm going to combine my like terms, and I have 6m and 6m, which when I add them together are going to give me 12m. And then I'm going to bring down my 1 and bring down my 36m squared and put my plus sign in front of my 12m because I know that it's positive. So that is going to be your final answer for that one. Make sure that you get all that down before you move on. It should be 36m squared plus 12m plus 1. All right, I want you to look at number 4. Number 4 says 5m minus 2n times 2m minus 3n. If you'll notice here, there's a difference in this problem and all of the other ones that we've done so far, and that is that you have multiple variables. You don't just have an x or a y or an m or an n, but you have both. So we're going to do this one together, and then the next one I'm going to have you actually try on your own is a whole lot like this. The first thing you need to do here, because you have negatives, is to add the opposite. So instead of saying minus 2n, I'm going to say plus a negative 2n, and instead of saying minus 3n, I'm going to say plus a negative 3n. And again, you always want to add the opposite because it's going to save you a lot of trouble in the long run, especially when you start distributing and multiplying. We have a really bad tendency to forget those signs. So I'm going to multiply, distribute my 5m, and then I'm going to distribute my negative 2n. So I'm going to show that by drawing arrows. Again, arrows are not optional. You must draw your arrows, and you must rewrite each step of the problem. So you need to rewrite 5m times 2m plus 5m times negative 3n. Okay? Then I'm going to bring another plus sign down, and I'm going to say I have negative 2n times 2m. So that's negative 2n times positive 2m. And then lastly, I have negative 2n. Negative 2n here times negative 3n. All right. So you should have all of that down. None of that is negotiable. All of that has to be on your paper right now. And now we're going to multiply everything out and then combine our like terms. So we're going to say 5m times 2m is going to give us 10m squared. Sorry about that error message there. 5m times negative 3n. My 5 times my negative 3 is going to give me negative 15. Okay? And my m times n is just going to give me mn. Anytime we're multiplying variables and we're just going to write them side by side, we generally put them in alphabetical order, and that's all you can do with them because they're not like terms. You've multiplied them, you've combined them as far as they can go, and now you have mn. Now I have negative 2n times positive 2m. So again, I'm going to look at my coefficients, my numbers in front of my variables, and I have a negative 2 times a positive 2. That's going to give me negative 4. So I'm going to say negative 4. And then again, m times n, I'm just going to write as mn. And if I write them in alphabetical order there, that's going to save me the trouble of accidentally saying nm and mn are not the same things, which we know that they are. They're being multiplied. It doesn't matter what order they come in. But if you always write them in alphabetical order, you'll end up with them in the same form, and you won't confuse yourself as to whether or not they are like terms. So negative 2 times negative 3 is going to give me positive 6, and n times n is going to give me n squared. So now I'm looking at this, and again, if I've taken care to keep my variables in alphabetical order, I know that my mn's are like terms. So I have a negative 15 mn and a negative 4 mn, and all I'm going to do is add them together or subtract them. I could type in my calculator negative 15 minus 4, or I could type in my calculator negative 15 plus a negative 4. Either way, they're both negative, so they're on the same team, and essentially they're being added together, and it gives me negative 19 mn. My negative 2m, I'm sorry, my 10m squared doesn't have any more like terms, so I'm just going to bring it down, 10m squared. My 6n squared does not have any like terms either, so I'm just going to bring it down, 6n squared. And this is going to be my final answer for this one. Make sure that you got all that down before you move forward. At number 4, I absolutely want you to try on your own, so I want you to go ahead and write it out. 4x plus 3y times 5x plus 2y. And I want you, on your notebook paper, to go ahead and work this all the way out, and then I'm going to show you the answer. All right, because you already should have tried this on your own, I'm showing you the answer. This is what you should have gotten. And this is the work. This should be your final answer. 20x squared plus 23xy plus 6y squared. And if you did not get that answer, then I want you to pause the video right now and go back up through this work and figure out exactly where you went wrong and fix your mistakes. So go ahead and do that now and make sure you have this and all the work down before you move forward. All right, we've moved on to number 6 now. That was number 5 that you did on your own. I'm going to do number 6 with you, and I want to make sure you get what we're doing here, because then we're going to do the exact same thing with number 7, and you're going to do it on your own and have to figure out if you went wrong, where you went wrong. So let's pay close attention to number 6. It looks kind of crazy. I've got y plus n times x plus a. So I have 4 different variables here. I'm going to take my arrows, go ahead and put all of those in, y times x, y times a, n times x, n times a. And I'm just going to write all that down. I'm going to say y times x plus y times a plus n times x plus n times a. And now all I'm going to do is just rewrite these together without the dot in between them, essentially. And again, we like to put them in alphabetical order. So I'm going to say xy, because x comes before y in the alphabet. I'm going to say ay plus, and I know that they're positive, because there are no negative signs here, so everything is going to be positive. Then I have nx plus an. Now, I've written them all alphabetically. It's easy to identify that I have absolutely no like terms here. None of these are the same. xy, ay, nx, an. And that, simply enough, is going to be my final answer. That's as far as I can take this one. So that's done. Get all of that down before you move on to number 7, which, again, you're going to be trying on your own. Sorry about that. Just make sure that you've got that down before you move on. All right, with number 7, again, you're going to be doing this one on your own, just like you did that last one. I'm going to show you the answer. Go ahead and write it down on your paper. You have y plus k times x minus k, and make sure that you go ahead and add the opposite on your k here, so you have a negative k. Make sure that you say plus a negative k. So you make sure to distribute a negative k, or multiply by a negative k instead of a positive one. Go ahead and pause the video now and work this out before I show you the answer. All right, this should be your final answer here. This should be your final answer here. You should have xy minus ky plus kx minus k squared. And you are welcome to pause the video here, go back up and look at all this work and figure out where you went wrong if you did not get the right answer. All right, so now you know how to multiply binomials algebraically. There were 7 examples in this PowerPoint. This is the end of your video. Make sure that you bring your notes with you to class tomorrow.